Welcome to this episode of Unfair Advantage, where we explore strategies, insights, and methodologies to give you an unfair advantage. I'm your host, Mona Hilton, CEO of Advantage Anywhere, and we are proud to bring you topics and guests that will stretch your mind and grow your business. If you've missed any of the amazing episodes of Unfair Advantage, or maybe you just want to binge watch on topics that will improve your business and life, check out the Unfair Advantage recordings at advantageanywhere.com/videos. Also, be sure to subscribe to our ever-growing YouTube channel for the very latest in information, tips, and news on the hottest business topics and leadership topics. So, have you ever thought about selling your business? If so, this episode is for you. Maybe you have no intention of selling your business and your succession plan is to hand it down to your children. If so, this episode is for you. Or maybe you have no plans to sell your business and you're focused on growth. Then this is definitely the episode for you. Because in all of these cases, having a well-structured, systemized business with intentional processes is the right thing to do, and it will serve you well regardless of what you decide to do down the road. And today, I am super excited to give you the opportunity to hear from a seasoned expert in mergers and acquisitions and an investment banker that knows what to do. He knows exactly what you need to have in place to optimize your business value and give you the best return on your investment. Michael Schuster is a seasoned executive entrepreneur and investment banker who has significant experience. He's founded and operated and exited several businesses over the last 35 years. Today, Michael works closely with executives and entrepreneurs and owners and founders and family-owned businesses to identify and optimize their well-planned exits, recapitalizations, and divestitures, typically ranging in revenues from $10 million to $200 million. Michael joined Cross Key Capitals in 2019, and they cover a broad range of industries. But what I like most about Michael is that helping stakeholders achieve a great outcome in a business sale is what gives Michael the most amount of satisfaction. And I'm very excited for you guys to meet him. I'll tell you what, this is another conversation that you're going to want to have pen and paper handy because you're about to hear from the best and you're about to pick up some great tips. So I'm really looking forward to diving into our topic today. Welcome to the Unfair Advantage, Michael.
Great to be with you, Mona. Thanks for having me.
It's such an honor to have you here today. I'm so excited for people to hear from you and learn about setting up a business for a successful exit or succession plan or maybe even growth. So how about we dive right in?
I'm ready.
So the first thing that I think everyone's asking, including me, is why? Why should I do this? Why should I think about planning for an exit? Why is this important at this point?
Great question. And, I think it's most important for businesses to plan everything. When somebody thinks about going out and founding a business or opening a business or getting into business for themselves, they always go into it with some type of plan. They have experience, they know something, they know that they can be successful. And part of that success that people often overlook is the fact that when they start that business, they need to have an exit in mind when the time is right. And you never know when that is. In my case, I ran a business for 25 years and didn't know when the right time was going to be. But I knew from the day we opened that business that we were going to be ready for a transaction if one happened to come our way or if we decided it was time.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. Kind of a follow-up question is, what if I'm not planning to sell the business? Is this something that I should still prepare for? Should I take the effort of, looking into these kind of preparation steps? Or what if I don't want to sell or I'm not thinking about selling?
So that's okay. And I think when you talk with the most successful business people who have been through various business cycles, maybe run more than one business, every one of them will tell you that, you need certain metrics and dashboards and certain information about your business, you run it in a certain way that helps that business be more successful than another one who doesn't. And when you run a business that way, there's a good chance that you're going to be ready and prepared for a sale, an exit, or even bringing in a financial partner at some point to help you grow that business if you follow those general business guidelines that successful business people will share with you. So even if you're not planning to sell, it's important that you run your business as if you're going to sell.
I love that statement because I think a lot of people are thinking, I'm not going to sell, so I don't need to worry about that. But what did you say? You need to run your business as if you're going to sell.
That's right.
I love that. So how do I do that? So what do I need to do in order to grow my business? What should I focus on? What's important?
Well, look, I think everyone is focused on making money. When you go into business, I'm not sure I've met anyone who goes into business, including nonprofits, by the way, with the thought of not making money or not bringing in revenue or whatever the case may be. And in the case of nonprofits, not fundraising, but growth is super important. We've been in an era here in the last, I don't know, let's call it, 6 to 7 years where we've had a tremendous run up in the economy and we've had just a phenomenal track record in the United States of growth. And most of the businesses that we come in contact with have endured significant growth. And that's what's attractive to all these mergers and acquisitions that people have seen go on at record numbers over the past years. If you're not focused on growing your business, there's a good chance that you're not going to participate in one of those great mergers or acquisitions. So what you need to do is really think about how you're going to grow your business. Surround yourself with a team or a sales team or whatever it is that requires you to be able to grow the business, and focus on that, because that's going to be more attractive down the road if there's a nice growth curve going on.
Right. Yeah, it always comes down to that, doesn't it? It always comes down to growth, and it always comes down to that is based on sales. So I think it was Tom Watson who said nothing happens until a sale is made. And I love that quote as well. So if I'm a business owner, where do I start? Sounds like there's a lot to be done.
Well, there is a lot to be done, and you really have to start right when you begin the business. So that plan, again, we'll go back to that word planning. You've got to think about, what your strategy will be, in the beginning of the business, the middle of your business, and as your business life cycle extends out. We hear often about businesses that are 100 years old and they've gone through several generations of either leadership or family ownership, or whatever the case may be. But those are far and few between. Most business owners, owner-founders, families have some type of either succession or exit at some point in the business's life cycle. So planning for that in the beginning is crucial to a successful exit or succession.
So let's say I'm thinking about it. How do I determine what my business is even worth? How do I figure that out? Do I wait to see what offers I get? Where do I begin with that?
So that's usually the first thing that happens when somebody starts to think about, when will I sell my business, or, when is the right time, or if I'm going to even have a sale. But usually the first thing that comes to mind is, how much is the business really worth to start with? Because when you start to think about how much is my business worth, there's a lot of other questions that come swarming into a owner-founder entrepreneur's brain. And some of those include things, or most likely are going to be in there, are going to be things like, well, my business isn't worth that much, so why would I consider selling it now? Or, I'm going to need an awful lot for my business in order for me to execute on a transaction, because I plan on having a very large lifestyle later on in my life. Well, whatever your motivations are, and whether your business is worth a little or a lot, you really need to understand the value of your business throughout your business life cycle, and what are the drivers of that. So when we talk about those dashboards being organized, being ready for a sale at all times, one of the things you'll come to learn is that, what the ongoing value of your business is at every point of the way through your business.
Well, and I'm assuming an investment banker such as yourself would do business valuations for you to help you determine not just what a buyer is willing to pay, but what it's actually worth. And I'm sure that factors in, but just to get an objective valuation, that's the kind of thing that you guys would offer as well, correct?
That's right. And if we're just getting introduced through another advisor or through an introduction or referral, and that business may not even be for sale, but often we're asked to come in and be a resource, perhaps to an attorney, an accountant, a financial planning person, whoever that may be. They're usually the people that surround entrepreneurs and owners of businesses and families. And when we come in, it could be 5 years before anything is even supposed to happen or planned to happen. We're usually brought in to talk about things like this, including the value of the business and what to start to think about in terms of that valuation. And we don't charge anything for that. We do that just to be able to give somebody an idea of where they would fit in terms of a third-party sale and how the market would perceive them. That also gets a lot of thoughts going and starts to really motivate somebody to pay attention to what things can drive the value of a business higher than it is today. And when that happens, people start to get an idea that we start to do what's called manage expectations. We often run into people who, when we first come in and sit down with a business and we ask the principals, what do you think your business is worth? They'll often come up with an idea of either they have no idea what it's worth, or they'll point to a very large public company and say, well, that company traded for 15 times. My business must be worth that. And usually that's not the case. Public companies trade for a very different valuation than privately held companies.
Yeah, I would think it's kind of like real estate. It depends on so many variables that you really need an expert to help you kind of navigate that and figure out what it really is worth.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you're thinking about selling, those things don't just happen, right? A successful transaction doesn't just magically appear.
Very seldom. I once got advice from a sage entrepreneur who had a number of businesses, and at the time he was about 80 years old when I met with him. And he looked at me and he said, "Remember this, Michael, lightning seldom strikes." And I remember that because successful transactions just don't happen by accident. If you've built a really successful company, there's a good chance you can have a successful transaction. But unless you prepared your company and are ready for a transaction, or what we call a process, and it is a process to get ready to go, out to market or find out who might be interested in your business. It doesn't just happen because you want it to happen. It's like everything else in your life, in your business, you have to plan for it.
Mm-hmm. Very true. So what does that plan look like? How do you start that process?
So the process can start at any time. We would rather it start earlier than later. I often say I'd rather meet you 3 to 5 years out from any type of transaction than the same year you want to transact. And the reason is because it's a process. It takes time. And when you think you've got everything in line for a transaction, chances are you may not have. Unless you're a serial entrepreneur and you've been through this numerous times, transactions are not easy to execute on. So we put them into different stages. And one of the things we do is starting first to determine if you want an exit, what kind of exit you may want. In order to do that, you've got to talk about your personal goals. When we talk about those personal goals, a lot of people run their business and they own it, where entrepreneurs, founders, families take a certain amount of compensation out of those businesses. And during your business life cycle, you become used to that compensation, whatever form it comes in. And when you exit a business, depending on your age, you may be headed into retirement, or you may be much younger and not ready for retirement. So the question becomes, where will your income come from? And even if you put away a big nest egg along the way, between your nest egg and the liquidity event of your business, is it going to be enough to support the type of lifestyle that you want to have? And if it's not, then there's two things that you have to do. One is you've got to get the valuation of your business higher. We call that the valuation gap, the difference between where you want to be and the reality of where you're going to be when you exit your business. And so you want to look at that, and you also want to make sure that your goals are aligned. So pull in your financial planning people, anyone who you work with on your financial side of your life, your accountants and CPAs and people who help you plan from a tax standpoint, insurance people who might, sell you different types of personal lines insurance and what that's going to be. All of these things come into play. So when you start to think about an exit, it's not just about selling your business. It's about what's going to happen after the sale of your business. When we meet people who are in their, let's just call it 50s, midlife, right? And they have an exit or a liquidity event, it's not too long after that they get bored or they're not happy with the fact that they sold their business. Not that they didn't have a good outcome, but they want more to do. They were active all their life, and they're not quite at that stage where they're ready to just, go to the beach or be on the boat or golf. So we make them think about those things and what it is that they're going to need in their life after the business is gone.
You mentioned that the deal team. So it sounds like it's more than just you. It really takes a village, if you will, to pull this off.
It does. Often we're the guys that come in later on in the business life cycle. We'd like to come in early so that we can share a lot of this information with someone who's not been through other transactions. But we usually just ask to get a seat at the table with all the other advisors that business people and families usually surround themselves with. And it does take a team. And one of the last things, after you figure out what it is you want to do, what your timeline is, when you think you might want to do some type of transaction and prepare for that, then you want to make sure you've got the right deal team assembled for a transaction. And we talk about the right deal team, obviously from my perspective, you've got to have a investment banker or somebody who's going to actually conduct the process and find the buyers and get a deal closed. But in addition to that, you're going to need a legal team and an accounting and tax team, maybe an estate team. These may be different advisors for that deal than what you've used previously in your life or in your business. So often I'll end up, meeting an entrepreneur who I asked, do you have an attorney who, an advisor who you get legal advice from? Yes, I do. It's my brother-in-law who's a real estate attorney. Well, that's great, but chances are that real estate attorney is going to be a great advisor to be at the table, but we're probably going to need an M&A attorney to help with the transaction. And often the business owner doesn't think of it from that perspective because they've got legal advice. But doing an M&A transaction with a private equity group or someone who's a professional buyer of businesses is very, very different from other types of transactions that legal counsel may offer.
Right, because what you don't want to do is get stuck on something a detail that costs you a lot of money or ends up backfiring on you. And having someone with the right expertise is so important.
Right.
You also mentioned a timeline, Michael. What does that kind of look like? Is there like a timeline that you like to follow?
So one of the things, and you just brought up a slide here that I say it in the most caring way, but dying is not an exit strategy. And when I talk about timelines, I talk about, running the business and planning all the way through the business as if you're going to sell tomorrow, even though you're not, because you're always in control and you should always be in control of when things happen in your life and your business. But things sneak up on us unexpectedly. And for those reasons, you need to have a plan in place. You need to plan for unfortunate things that may happen. And trying to pull those affairs together without having a plan is most difficult. I know I've been pulled into those situations, and it's never a good outcome. It's not good for the family. It's not good for the management team and your employees, who I know almost every entrepreneur cares very much about. So, this is part of being a strong founder, owner, leader, entrepreneur family of a business. You have to have a plan in place for almost anything. So some people believe that an exit happens right at when you're ready to retire. And other business people and entrepreneurs believe it should, that an exit doesn't come just at retirement. A partial exit is for people who need a financial partner and want somebody to help them grow their business, go to the next level, and not take a full exit. So depending on where you are in your business life cycle, what your goals are, what your growth goals are, a timeline can happen almost any time. In the last 5 to 6 years, 50% of the transactions that I've handled personally have been the result of people getting tapped on the shoulder unsolicited.
Wow.
So when you're not for sale and you haven't thought of anything, but all of a sudden somebody recognizes that you have a really successful business and they come to you and say, we'd like to buy you, and you weren't ready for that transaction, you may miss an opportunity. 1 out of 3 business owners today are being solicited, are being tapped on the shoulder unsolicited. And these taps on the shoulders sometimes are just nonsense, and most business owners, ignore them or don't go very far with them. But what if it is the right transaction for you? How do you know that the offer they're putting on the table is the right offer if you don't know the value of your business? How do you know that the approaching party may be a great group to partner up with to go to the next level and maybe sell out only 60% of your business, keep 40%, and in 5 to 6 years, sell it again, where that 40% may be worth 2 or 3 times the amount of money that you got on the first transaction when you sold 60%. These are some of the things that often business owners don't think about because they're busy minding and grinding their business in the early years, getting it, successful, being recognized in the industry where they play. And all of a sudden, wow, you have a situation. Hopefully it's a good situation where you're getting tapped on the shoulder. But if it's a unfortunate situation, you want to be ready no matter what. So that's why we talk about working on your timeline. When should things happen? And doing it early in the business life cycle is just as important as figuring out how to grow your business early in the life cycle. So make this part of your business plan.
That's really good advice. And it just strikes me that a lot of people, when they think about M&A, it's really about, they're thinking about selling their business. But as you pointed out to me earlier, there are different types of sales transactions that are available. Do you mind sharing, explaining some of these to us?
Absolutely. So as part of the planning and some of the, when we meet with people and they start talking to us about thinking about an exit or succession plan or whatever it is that's on their mind, and for whatever motivations or reasons that this is on their mind, we want to lay out the different type of options that are available to them, because again, we want to make sure you're always in control of your destiny, your business, your outcomes. So we talk about the different types of sales that can just, take place. And when we were just referring to the fact that if you're looking for a growth partner and you feel you need maybe a private equity group who have grown multiple businesses and successfully exited those businesses, and you'd like to partner with them and they'd like to come in and buy either minority or majority sale of your business, then that might be the type of transaction you're looking for. If you're looking for an exit because you're retiring, that might just be a third-party sale to somebody who's going to buy a good part of your business out. In a very rare circumstances, there are ESOPs available where an owner sells the business to their employees. These are very hard transactions to complete. There are successful ones out there, but that's an option, although you can't count on that. Management buyout is another one that has a very small percentage of success, like the ESOP, where your management team buys you out, or you count on them that they're going to provide you with an exit. The problem with that is that often management teams don't have the financial backing to do that transaction. And you may be, finding yourself, not achieving the valuation that you had hoped, or selling out shorter than where you wanted to be. And then, of course, there's always the succession to your children and team. And, when you're in the early stages of your business and starting it or growing it or whatever, and you have young children and you're going through that life cycle and that business life cycle, you think, oh, when your child is 2 years old, this would be a great business for them and they're going to come into business with you. And when they reach in their 20s, and you kind of look at it differently and say, I'm not so sure that was a great idea. This is not going to be the person who's going to be able to carry on and succeed me and be as successful. So succession plans have to be really worked on way in advance with a lot of thought, and have a contingency plan if your children are not going to be well suited to take over the business.
Or simply don't want to. As
Or
was the
don't want
case
to.
with my father. I just didn't want to take over his business. So, I know it was a big disappointment to him, but it happens. They have their own mind and their own ideas what they want to do with their life and their career. So I totally get that. So you've talked a little bit about financial partners, and that kind of got my attention. And so I'm just wondering, is that something you need? Can you maintain growth without a financial partner? Do I need one?
So you may not need one, but if you do, it's a great option available. When I first got into the mergers and acquisitions area, there were about 2,000 to 3,000 private equity groups out there, and they've been around for a very long time, but there just wasn't a large number of them here in the United States. Now there's over 9,000.
Wow,
So
that's 3 times.
that's right. So when you think of growing your business, and maybe you don't have the capital that you need to grow, or maybe you don't have the right people around you, partners or board members, private equity, family offices are a great option, because they probably were entrepreneurs, or they've worked in businesses that have gone through transactions. They grow businesses to sell them. That's what private equity does. Those are alternative assets, and they are professionals at buying businesses and building businesses. They may be a great partner for you to take that business to the next level if you feel you can't get there on their own. I've seen many business owners, highly successful, do it on their own. But I've also seen more recently in more modern businesses, these startups take in various forms of capital. And when it's a mature business and you have plans to grow it further, private equity and family offices are a great option. In our firm, we do all sell-side work, so we represent only the businesses and entrepreneurs that we work for. But we have access to almost the entire universe of lower and middle market private equity groups and family offices that have been buying into or investing in these businesses at a voracious rate.
So can I share with you a concern that I've heard so many times in the past, which is, and maybe you can address this for me, that, investment firms or private equity firms take 10 pounds of flesh and you lose everything. You lose control, you lose your plan. It becomes a different company than you envisioned. How would you address that?
That is a perception that's been around for years.
Mm-hmm.
And many years ago, when there were a lower amount of private equity groups, they used to be known as corporate raiders, or people who came in and, they came in on they'd close a deal on a Friday night, and on Saturday morning, they walked in with a big piece of railroad chalk and put an X on certain desks. And when you came in on Monday, you were gone. That has evolved way beyond that. And that seldom happens anymore. Private equity groups, as their numbers have raised, in numbers and in the amount of groups out there, they really are very disciplined and very interested in growing businesses and giving great returns to their institutional investors who give them money to invest. So that perception is pretty much gone. And
Thankfully.
it is, yeah, it is important to partner with the right private equity group for you and your business. Not all of them are created equal. Not all of them will be the right fit. And when we work with business owners, entrepreneurs, and they're looking for that type of growth equity to come in and to partner with someone, even if they give up control equity in terms of more than 50% of their business, they're equally as important is the structure of the deal, how the company's going to operate, and the type of partners that you're bringing in, that type of private equity group. Most of them have no interest in investing in your business unless you, the leader, the entrepreneur, the entire management team, executive team, is going to stay and remain with the business to grow it for that second exit. If that's not part of the plan for you or your management team, then they're not going to be interested in doing a transaction with you and helping you grow your business. So the entire dynamic has changed, and it's a very, very, successful route for many entrepreneurs and founders to take.
That's really good to know, because that's something I know personally I have been very leery of, is just giving up all that and, again, losing the entire vision of what I had for the business. So good to know that things have changed, and it would make sense if there's so many more investment firms involved in the process that, you can find someone who shares your vision, if you will.
Yep.
Can
Very
I
much
ask you
so.
another question? Is you had mentioned something early on in this conversation that I wanted to go back to. You had mentioned dashboards, and I'm wondering, again, from the perspective of a business owner, are there certain dashboards or checklists or processes or systems that you look for or that you put in place in order to increase the value of a company, a business?
So there's definitely certain dashboards that I think anyone coming into a business to evaluate it or look at it are going to expect to see. They're going to want to see that management uses tools to operate their business, monitor their metrics, and understand what's happening so that they can react to change. And how, that's usually how you create change, creates growth, and growth creates success, and in the end, profits. So we don't actually come in and do any of that work. We understand that they should be there. And if they're not there, we recommend that as part of being ready for a transaction, or just good business discipline in general and good management, that you implement some of those dashboards, those metrics, those operating standards that are required to be successful. And there's many third-party outside consulting type people, different types of people who you can hire, on an interim basis or just on a project basis to help get those metrics in place, get the dashboard set up, and make sure that you understand and know your business so that you can do what you're good at doing and still monitor the success of the business.
Yeah, good to know. Well, Michael, you've already mentioned that that there's a real good chance that someone would try to buy your business. Is there anything else you wanted to expand on that?
So I mentioned that there's been a tremendous amount of M&A activity, record numbers of sales, especially in lower and middle market businesses. We define those as businesses as small as 10 million in revenue, all the way up to 200 million in revenue. So if you're in that area, that is the most active area for business transactions taking place. And that's because private equity groups, family offices who buy these businesses or invest in them have found them to be a very fertile area, great area to get that first institutional capital in, build and grow those businesses, improve the earnings, and turn around and sell those to another private equity group further up the stream. Not only do we work hard on keeping active pipelines of businesses that are coming into market available to private equity companies to invest or to buy, but they have created their own outreach programs. They're sending letters, they're making phone calls, and I'm sure a lot of the business owners who happen to see this podcast this will resonate with them, because they're getting solicitations, they're getting letters, they're getting phone calls saying, we have an investor who's interested in your business. A lot of those are fishing expeditions, and we certainly don't recommend anybody investigating that on your own without somebody along your side, because as I always say, you have to remember, if you're being contacted by a professional buyer. And if you don't have a professional on your side as a professional seller, you're going to be out-teamed. You're just not going to come out on the right side of a transaction. So there's a good chance that somebody is interested in your business. 1 out of 3 business owners are being tapped on the shoulder unsolicited. 50% of the transactions that I handle are a result of somebody being contacted, and that business owner went to their attorney or accountant and said, hey, I just got a phone call, or I just got an offer. I didn't expect it. I wasn't for sale, but it has my interest. Hopefully that advisor, whether it be accountant, financial planner, somebody who's close to you in your inner circle, is going to turn and say, you need some help with this. You need a transaction advisor close to you who can help navigate whether or not this opportunity is one you should pursue or not.
Mm-hmm. Good advice. Because yes, I can just speak for myself. I get at least once a week, and it's typically an email, and I understand it's phishing. Typically ignore it, but they're getting pretty clever at reaching out to you.
Very clever.
So we've talked about a lot of things today, Michael, and you can probably see my head spinning because I'm thinking about all this, so not just from my perspective, but from our clients' perspectives as well. But we touched on so many things. If there's one takeaway that you want people to leave understanding or hearing, what would that be?
My one takeaway is, there's no wrong time to start exit planning or succession planning, or if what we've said here today inspires you to think about where you want to be or where you want to go, do it now, act on it. There's lots of resources available to you. I'm happy to always take a phone call. Doesn't cost you a thing to talk to me, or a meeting. There's lots of other advisors out there. Take advantage of surrounding yourself with the best people to give you the best advice. Some people they like to go it alone and think it's going to cost them money. Most professional advisors are willing to take a consult with you. It's not going to cost you a thing, and see what you can learn out of it. Also, remember this: you worked hard to plan, start, build, and grow your business. Put the same resources and energy into planning your exit and what's going to happen to your business in the future as you did when you started it, and how much time and energy you put into growing it. And don't forget about the liquidity event at the end that could be yours if you build your business and plan for it ahead of time.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. I mean, you owe it to yourself after putting blood, sweat, and tears and years into building a business to get expert advice. It's kind of like you wouldn't go to a lawsuit without an attorney. You wouldn't go meet with IRS without your CPA. It's the same kind of thing. And you mentioned a consultation. Would you tell us a little bit about that? You said you had a free consultation. Is that right?
Always happy to do a free consultation, even if an exit is not in mind in the near future. We like to have long-term trusted relationships with people, and at some point, if there's something I can help you with or my team can help you with, we're more than glad to jump on a call, take a meeting, come and see you, and talk about some of the things that we touched upon today with you, Mona. And because at that point, you've started to do something about building your deal team, and we'd love to be on that team someday at the right time.
Well, we really appreciate you, Michael. I mean, Michael is definitely the real deal, and his contact information is on the screen. You can reach him by email. You can reach him through LinkedIn if you want to take him up on his consultation. So I think that it's a great opportunity for you to get advice from someone who's done this for what, 35 years, I think you said. And that's amazing, Michael. I thank you so much. This has been so good. I'm going to listen to this 2 or 3 times so I can take my own notes too on some things that I'd like to look into a little deeper. And so if you'd like to reach out to Michael, his contact information is on our screen. If you would like to reach out to me for any reason, or if you'd like to learn more about Advantage Anywhere, my contact information is on the screen. I hope you really enjoyed this time together and picked up some great tips. And I am looking forward to seeing you on the next episode of Unfair Advantage. Thank you, Michael. Thank you for everyone for joining us. Have a good day.
Thanks, Mo. Bye.
Bye-bye.